That's a little bit clickbaity, isn't it? Why I don't compress, because obviously I'm a mastering engineer, I do use compressors. However, it's not totally clickbaity because I don't use compression in the same way that a lot of people use compression. So as a mastering engineer, I have compressors, I have outboard compressors here, I have plug-in compressors that I use, but really what I'm using them for is the sound and the flavour and the vibe of that compressor. Now when you're mastering, the level is mega loud by the times it comes to you. So when you start compressing it, well, you're doing small changes at mastering. So when you do compression on it, if you do even the slightest amount of compression, it makes a really big difference to the sound. It's very loud, much louder than if you were just compressing an instrument. You wouldn't notice it as much. So what I tend to do is I'm using a compressor. Maybe if I am using it for compression, let's get that out of the way first, I would use it for gluing the mix together a little bit more. So I'm not going to use a lot of compression. I'm going to use sort of half a dB of gain reduction, something like that, just to kind of pull the track together a touch. But like I say, I can only do a small amount at mastering, so I'm just going to push it just a little tiny bit. So I can hear it when I'm going in and out of bypass, but there's no way you're going to hear it sucking. There's no way you're going to hear it pulling the mix down, because that's not what I'm after with mastering. I don't want to pull the mix down. I'm trying to keep it open. I'm trying to keep it dynamic. I'm trying to keep it punchy. I'm trying to keep all the instruments in the right place. I don't want it, but what I want to do is sometimes a mix where it's a little bit out of balance in places, just by pushing it a touch. When I say a touch, I mean just a touch to glue it. It just pulls those little things into place a little bit more, and it gets a more kind of together sound. So that's as far as I go with compression. So when I say I don't compress, I don't really compress as in compress. I just sort of blend it together. The reason why I don't compress is because we use a lot of limiting in mastering to get the level up. The limiter really is a compressor. So as you're pushing into the limiter, that's giving you the compression sound. So if you're using a compressor as well on top, it's going to start sounding really compressed and undynamic. So I'm using the compressors as a kind of maybe a little bit of glue, just like, you know, bring it together a touch, but mainly for flavour and sound of the equipment. So for example, I've got a Teglia valve there and an Avalon, and they've got valves in and things, so I might just use it for the sound of the valves and just go through it and the circuitry and stuff. Sometimes just going through a box just for the circuits gives it a nice little flavour and a nice little bit of noise, or a little bit of something that's going, harmonics that's going on in the box. So sometimes that can work really nicely on certain things if you're trying to create that kind of overall sound on stuff, that kind of finish. So I'm using them for that rather than going, okay, let's get hold of this whole track, let's push it together and really get it like pumping together. That's really not what I'm after out of a stereo compressor, that's for sure. It's just to kind of pull it all together. Now, multi-band compression, totally different ball game, because you're dealing with certain frequency ranges, and that gets you into dynamic EQ, which is doing the same thing, moving things around. And I see dynamic EQ and multi-band compression in a similar light, really. Different things, and that's another video which I've done, I think, but I'll do one. Dynamic EQ and multi-band compression, same place, doing something different to what I'm talking about with stereo compression. So yeah, go easy if you are going to use a compressor, and if you're guiding someone on how they want to have their track mastered, don't say, oh, just crush it together, compress it, because if they do, you'll probably lose a lot of dynamics. So hope that's been helpful for you. Please remember to subscribe, share my content, my videos, whatever you want to do with them. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. Please go to streaky.com, sign up for my newsletter. It's out once a month. It's an Audio Anoraks newsletter. You get loads of giveaways and freebies. So go to streaky.com. I also have courses there and plugins and all kinds of stuff. So go to streaky.com for all of that. See you next time. Bye.